Good Erev Shabbos, everyone. Parshas, Veschanan, Shabbos Nachamu, and it's Shabbos after Tisha B'Av, getting ready for the 7 weeks of Nachamu. The Rebbe tells us that the idea of Nachamu, two times Nachamu, although it's referring to the two Batei Mikdash, that the Batei Mikdashos that were destroyed, so the two times Nachamu, but also that every time a person does a violation, does a sin against Hashem, you're really doing a double transgression, because Hashem gives us a neshama that's pure to transform our own selves and also to transform the space of influence that we have. And when we don't do that, then we do a transgression. So it's like a double violation. So nevertheless, Hashem, even though sometimes we do things that are double offensive to Hashem, Hashem gives us a double nechama, a double consolation. And this brings us to Parshas Veschanan, the Parsha that Moshe Rabbeinu talks so much about Eretz Yisrael. And Veschanan, he prayed so many tefillas to go into Eretz Yisrael. Like the Rebbe says that there's a spark in every Yid that's from Moshe Rabbeinu that davens to Hashem constantly, take us home to Eretz Yisrael with the Beis HaMikdash, with the Geula. And we know we have an amazing verse in this week's parsha that talks about the idea of das. We have two times. It says, Ata hareis la das, you showed us to know. And it says, V'daita yom, you should know. There's the idea of das. And the Alter Rebbe says there's three levels of understanding or knowledge of things. We have, when we see something, then we know it. You know the essence of it. It's called in Hebrew Yedias Hamahus. We know the essence of what we're seeing. You have das. You don't have the visual, but you have the das. You have the understanding that you know the Metzias. You know it exists. Like we know that our soul exists. Our body, without before we're born and after we passed away, doesn't have any functionality. But the fact that when we're alive, we're moving, we're feeling, we're thinking, we're talking, we're communicating, means there's a force within us that's alive. That's the neshama, that's the soul. We know that it exists, but we don't 100% understand it. That's called das. And then you have emunah, belief, things that are even beyond our understanding. Like we don't even have a knowledge of its existence. We have to believe that it exists. Like the power of Hashem to do beyond creation. We see the way Hashem is in creation, but the ability for miracles, the ability for change, the ability for things that sometimes are beyond our comprehension, that to believe that Hashem could make anything happen, we have to have belief. We don't see it in front of us. And the Moshe Rabbeinu tells us in this week's parsha, it says, Ata hareisa, he showed us, revealed himself, at Matan Torah l'das, so we have das in Hashem. That even if we don't know the essence of God, but we should know clearly that Hashem exists, it shouldn't just be left in belief. And the idea of das is an amazing thing, because the idea of das, that in order for das to develop into something like Ava and Yira, like this week's Torah, we talk about the Shema Yisrael, v'ahavta Hashem l'kecha. That how does a person have Ava and Yira, fear and love? There has to be das. And how do we bring it down that there should be das, even in the most abstract levels of godliness, even the highest levels, is through Torah, because Hashem encloses himself in Torah and through performing Torah mitzvahs, and then we use that as an understanding, as a springboard to develop Av and Yir, love and Hashem through das, through understanding, is then it becomes alive and real to us. But we know that one of the components of das is you always have to pay attention to it. As soon as you start losing attention, then lessening the attention, then the feelings go away. Alter Rebbe gives an amazing example that we have a lot of times people that we care for, members of our family, our children, whatever, that we really care for them. But sometimes we see that we care for them a little less than we care for ourselves. And why is that? Because we're not always paying attention to them. That if we lose a little bit of das, then the av and yir, the love and fear, is not so much over there. Whereas our own life, ourselves, our own needs, we're constantly feeling, I'm hungry, I want, I need. And when it comes to Avos Hashem and Yiras Hashem, love and fear of Hashem, we have to always have das, never forget, always pay attention, so we should have this love and fear. But the Alter Rebbe today in Tanya talks about that there's a deep love that's even beyond das. It's like it says, that's the level of love that's so deep within a Yid, that only when Mashiach comes, he's going to reveal that level of love. Like it says, Mashiach is in the come behesach das, beyond knowledge. And the idea of beyond knowledge is that after we reach our limitations of how much we can understand, we submit ourselves to the beyond knowledge, the level of true geula, Mashiach, redemption, to reveal even the most deepest parts of our hearts, the deepest parts of our love for Hashem. And so may it be taka that this week we go into Shabbos Nachamu with the true Nachamu, to the high level, the Mala Ars Deis Hashem. We should have the true das in knowledge, and then the higher levels of Emunah, even that's beyond, should be all within our life, in our existence, in our consciousness, and in reality. Like the Rebbe says, we should be able to point and say, Hina Mashiach, this is Mashiach, he's here, he's revealed, here's the Beis HaMikdash, here's the avodas of the Kohanim. May be this Shabbos, speeding in our time, Bekar of Mamish.